Happy Monday, everyone. It's the Prop Queen Pod. We're going to talk about NBA props at some point today, but you all know what I'll be talking about today. Yes, last night's game was insane, and what's going to happen with the Ravens now, we'll get to that. Jared Block going to join the show in about 15 minutes. We're going to talk NBA props. Also giving you an early look into the NFL wildcard weekend coming up on Saturday. I've got a few props. I've made it halfway through the slate today. I also am going to give something to subscribers and for people to be able to use to help them with some early NFL wildcard weekend props tomorrow. I'll have it ready. I did 3 games today, and I'll get through the next few tomorrow. Last night I was up till about 2:33 in the morning. I couldn't sleep. It was tough. This loss was pretty much the same kind of loss the Ravens have had for the last 15 years. It's not one game, not one player, not one mistake. It's the Ravens just repeatedly doing this. The game's in their hand every single time. The Ravens blow it. I actually am going to say something pretty controversial. I don't care about the firing of John Harbaugh, and I'm not putting this whole loss on Tyler Loop. The whole loss wasn't just because of Tyler Loop, the Ravens kicker. The loss was an entire encapsulation of the entire team's season. Other teams are able to somehow come through in big spots, big games. Everyone's like, I sure as hope that nobody puts this on Lamar Jackson tomorrow. No, it's on everybody. We're going to take it back to before Lamar. John Harbaugh was still the head coach. Lee Evans drops the ball in the end zone, and Billy Cundiff kicks it wide left in the same game against the New England Patriots. Now, a few years later, so that one was probably the most painful loss of my life. That was definitely the most painful loss of my life. Then you go back to just a couple years ago when, sure, we could say Zay Flowers fumbled on the goal line, which led to an entire disaster of an AFC championship game against the Kansas City Chiefs. But the Ravens stopped running the football against the Chiefs, who that year, anyone could run on the Chiefs. So they go out and get Derrick Henry last year, the king. Last year, Mark Andrews drops the 2-point conversion to lose to the Bills in the divisional round, and the Ravens season ended there. Then this year, if I have to put the number one blame on this Ravens team, it's actually on the defensive coordinator, Zach Orr. Zach Orr has had a chance for 2 years to make this defense something. His defensive adjustments at halftime are crap. He doesn't adjust, actually. The Ravens lost Kyle Hamilton in the second half, which was huge. But you should be able to bounce back, and they didn't. The Ravens defense looked bad all year. I was actually shocked when I was doing some handicapping for the wild card before they even lost yesterday, and I was doing both the Ravens and Steelers. I saw that the Ravens actually have been pretty good against running backs this year. They're top 10 in rushing yards allowed to running backs, which is shocking because you would think that all these teams have dominated time of possession against the Ravens. But they are terrible against wide receivers, and they're terrible against pass-catching backs, which is exactly what happened yesterday with Kenneth Gainwell. The Steelers don't have a top receiver. Their receivers all got hurt. They had Pat Freiermuth and Kenneth Gainwell in the passing game. That was pretty much all the Steelers had. How the hell do you not how is your defensive scheme not to just stop those two? Because they can't. How does Roquan Smith go from being one of the best linebackers in football to not existing? How does Marlon Humphrey still have a job? I mean, he can't tackle. This team couldn't tackle. We're talking about McDonald's running this defense 2 years ago. The defense was number 1 in every statistical category 2 years ago. You can argue with Malachi Starks and Nate Wiggins that the team got better. And yet they got worse. Zach Orr was not ready to be a defensive coordinator, and he has not improved at all in the last year. So Zach Orr's got to go. When it comes to the offense, and everyone still wants John Harbaugh's head. Everyone wants John Harbaugh fired. John Harbaugh has been losing close games the entire last 15 years. Absolutely. I'm not in the room, so I can't call for someone's head if I don't know what the problem is in the room. I don't know why they're blowing these close games. Obviously, the common denominator when you keep switching coordinators is your head coach. But I don't know if anyone else is a good fit for Lamar Jackson at quarterback. If he feels there is one, great. And I love Lamar. He's so talented. But we know that there have been rumblings about a personality problem off the field. Can anybody handle Lamar? I don't know. Is John Harbaugh the best fit? Maybe. We don't know any different. John Harbaugh keeps the Ravens in contention every single year. So can I call for John Harbaugh's head without knowing what the actual dynamics are in the locker room? I can't. If the team still likes John Harbaugh, then I can't say fire John Harbaugh. Maybe they hate Todd Monken, the offensive coordinator. Maybe that's who needs to be fired. Sure. Can I compare it to Andy Reid saying that in Philly, Andy Reid was great and they just knew that a cultural change needed to happen, so they moved on, and then Andy Reid goes on to win in Kansas City? That could definitely happen with John Harbaugh. Again, I love John Harbaugh, so I'm not ready to fully say that it's his fault, because until I get information knowing it's John Harbaugh's fault, I can't call for his head. But I do know that losing close games for the last 15 years, the one common denominator has been John Harbaugh. So maybe if Steve Bisciotti, the Ravens owner, feels John Harbaugh's not the problem, because clearly to keep a head coach for 19 years, you clearly are buddies, then you give him one more shot with new coordinators next year. Something was off with this Ravens offense. How do you not have an identity? You've got Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry. RPO worked all year long. You looked amazing against Buffalo for 3 quarters. Where was that offense? All year. Where was it? Lamar looked good, so he's not hurt. Derrick Henry looked good, and of course he didn't get touches in the 3rd quarter again. But I will say, they kept just running it up the middle, and that wasn't working anymore, because the Steelers actually made defensive adjustments. To me, the issue is 100% the defense. The Ravens defense, first of all, twice could have, it only happened once, twice could have let Aaron Rodgers run for a first down, like 10 yards. That's a problem. Second, you've got about 2 minutes left, and your defense lets Aaron Rodgers with a wide receiver-less offense get downfield on you quickly. That's a problem. Tyler Loop is so far down my list of the problem. Ravens fans are calling for his job. Don't give him another chance. Tyler Loop is a rookie who literally hasn't been in a game-winning situation yet this year, and that's the situation. In fact, John Harbaugh should have run the football one more time, giving Derrick Henry a little bit of a chance. Hopefully he doesn't fumble, and you get another 3 yards. That's the one big problem I had with Harbaugh yesterday. Why? It was 44 yards, game-winning situation. Get like 4 yards. Get to the 40 for Tyler Loop. Why not run the football one more freaking time? Again, Tyler Loop missed. Just like a closer in baseball, a team could be a 1-0 game in the 9th inning, and the closer could give a 2-run home run up on a bad pitch. And that one bad pitch is going to cause an entire fan base to hate that closer for one pitch when his offense couldn't put up runs. Why don't we blame the lineup for not scoring in those situations? That's why I can't just blame Tyler Loop for the loss. The entire Ravens team sucked all year. They always had problems. Even yesterday, I haven't even brought up the penalties. The penalties yesterday. Ronnie Stanley, illegal formation, lines up wrong again. You are a veteran. How do you keep lining up wrong, Ronnie Stanley? You do this every other game. There were so many, and first of all, obviously the bad call on Save Flowers, that was bad. That was not, I forgot what that play call was, but that was not a penalty. There were a few just bad penalties, and I don't mean on the ref side. I mean the Ravens just playing undisciplined football. So this is my life. That's my life. I don't know which is worse. That's why I combined them together, because these two ruined my life. John Harbaugh and Aaron Boone might as well switch places. It's the same thing. Same thing. We ruin games, head coach, manager, we ruin games by making bad decisions and having undisciplined teams filled with all-stars, filled with Pro Bowlers, filled with MVPs, filled with Offensive Player of the Years, filled with first-round defensive picks. It's just, it's mind-boggling that this Ravens team was a Super Bowl contender preseason, a Super Bowl contender the last few years, and that's what they looked like this year. All year. Heartbreak after heartbreak after heartbreak. And we know that there were already 3 head coaches fired today on Red Monday. Raheem Morris of Atlanta, Pete Carroll of Vegas, and Kevin Stefanski of the Cleveland Browns. Do I think John Harbaugh is going to be added to that mix? I really don't know. I would kind of be upset if he did get fired because I do love John Harbaugh. Is it time for a change in Baltimore? Maybe. But does that also put the Ravens a little bit behind next year if that head coach is not a good fit? Maybe. I mean, that's a whole system overhaul. Like maybe you fire your coordinators, leave Harbaugh one more year. If they suck again next year like this, then you fire Harbaugh but leave the coordinators so at least it's not a full overload of a change going into next season. That's a lot of change. I don't know who the next best fit would be for the Ravens. I don't know if there's someone better than John Harbaugh. I'm sure in Philly they didn't feel like they could find someone better than Andy Reid. Sometimes you have to take the risk to get the better reward. That might be what the Ravens have to do by just getting rid of everyone in the front office. But the problem I really think the Ravens have, they don't have a leader. I was talking to a good friend of mine in Baltimore. I'm not going to disclose who it is because he does have a decent following. He agreed with me. There's not a leader on this team. Lamar, and he's close to the team. So he was saying Lamar doesn't like to lead vocally. He likes to lead by with his play on the field. Linderbaum's kind of the same thing. The center, he just kind of likes to lead through his play on the field, not vocally. I thought Roquan Smith maybe was a leader like that. I just don't really hear any of Roquan anymore, which also makes me think Zach Orr is not doing a good job of using one of the best linebackers in the NFL, Roquan Smith. Maybe Kyle Hamilton has the biggest voice, but they all kind of feel like they joke around. And it's fun, obviously, to have fun, and they always show the Marlon Humphrey videos after games like the last few years, but they always seem to just be laughing. Even after a loss, they're smiling and laughing. When you used to see Ray Lewis after a loss, he was on the field nearly in tears. A good leader shows emotion, negative. You should have looked like me last night on the field. Not all walking off the field. That's how they are. There's just not a leader. And I think this team needs a leader. And I thought maybe a silent leader was Derrick Henry, but it almost feels like him and Lamar didn't get along this year. But they got along last year. The offense needs a leader. They need an identity. The defense needs a leader. And maybe it's Roquan and we just don't know it. But all around on the team, I don't feel like anyone's leading the Ravens from a player perspective. They need another role model. They need another. I don't know who that is. Maybe. I don't know. But the whole team is to blame. I'm going to bring on Jared Block, who's happy his team is still alive. Jared Block from Trinity Analytics, Props.cash. Happy Monday. Happy Red Monday. And congrats, your Packers get to play the Bears again.
Yeah, right. Third time's the charm, hopefully. Season's still alive, at least until Saturday. So
yeah, and I think your mic might be off. I hear it's more like a computer noise. I know you always have a great mic, so I just wanted to see.
Hold on.
There. Oh, that's better. There we go. That sounds like a radio star.
I got a new setup, so we're slowly adjusting.
Fancy. New setup for the playoffs?
Yeah, and for baseball season. We are 7 weeks away.
Oh, I can't wait. Even though, did you like my picture that I was showing?
Yes, I was in here when you were looking at that, so they are the exact same person. It is uncanny.
Isn't it scary that that's my two teams?
Yes, very much so. I had a moment that was similar to this several years ago. It was when the Green Bay Packers let go of Mike McCarthy.
Yeah.
And it was something similar to where they'd always get close and then they could never finish the job. Now they had a Super Bowl out of it, which I guess is a little bit different in this situation. But it's very, very clear that when the quarterback and the head coach are completely separated, there were reports coming out this week that Lamar doesn't want to be there anymore. Yeah, when it comes to that kind of stuff, the change can be good. It can be scary and lucky for the Packers. Matt LaFleur is really solid, but then it only takes a couple of years for that to turn back around in your face anyway. So
Right.
yeah, it'll be
And
weird. It'll be
this
weird.
year, you guys are back in the playoffs. You do have to go to Chicago to face the Bears. Third time's a charm, maybe. How much are you staking on the Packers and LaFleur and Jordan Love, and how confident you are in them on this game?
Well, I think it was very good for Jordan to, rest up for 2 weeks. I'm always on the the rest versus rust stuff. I'd rather have people playing. I think it's more of a baseball thing than it is a football thing. I'd rather have these guys get healthier for another week or so. I'm really curious to see if Roma Dunze is going to play for the Bears. That's a big one. We'll see if the guys on the defensive side can get healthy for Chicago too. I mean, the Packers have had 15 guys on IR, and you saw how obviously last week was like just like a preseason game at best. Whereas you look at the week before, and you look at the last month of football, and the Packers are a bottom 5 run defense. And I feel like if you're going to go into Chicago and try to face a team that can run the ball extremely well in a multitude of areas, I'm trying to remain optimistic, but the data and the stats in my head say Green Bay. I don't really understand why they are favored right now. Are they still favored? They opened as a 1-point favorite.
Actually, it's funny because I saw Chicago minus 1.5, and then the lines disappeared. This was before the even game last night started. So I snapshotted the lines right after the mid-afternoon slate, and the Bears were minus 1.5. Then the numbers came back out after FanDuel pulled their lines. I was just referring to FanDuel lines, and it came out with the Bears as 1.5-point home dogs, and they still are 1.5-point home dogs. So I'm just curious then, is that you think because of injury updates that maybe they make the Packers, like, I feel like that should have been baked in the line.
I'm not really sure. Something tells me that that's like another, I don't know. Like,
well, clearly the Ravens were 3.5 to 4.5-point favorites yesterday in Pittsburgh. It means nothing anymore. But,
yeah.
Well, okay. So you would say Bears, maybe even you could put the Bears in a teaser.
I think so. I think by the time Friday night hits, I think we'll see Chicago as like a 2-point favorite.
It's always really hard to figure out when you've got two teams, divisional matchup. They already faced each other twice in the regular season. For props, how are you going to handicap this game? Is it going to be different? What's the different approach?
Yeah, when you're looking at postseason stuff, first of all, like what I always do, and I try to bring that up on the show whenever I'm on here, is I look at the NFL in 4-week sample sizes. Sometimes it can be tough during the season when you have teams that are playing 3 games due to bye weeks, so you kind of have to look at that and then also look at the season stuff. I think you throw the majority of the season stuff out the window and you look at at least the back 8 games. That's kind of where I'd start. And then if you want to get further in there, which is why props.cash is great and why we love them, you can go filter by primetime. You can filter by home away. I think the home away thing is like the huge one that I want to bring up. Like, how do teams do on the road this season? Historically, last 2 years, most of these playoff teams have been here, though a lot of new faces. So there's probably a little bit less historical data, but yeah, home road stuff this year. How does that look? How does that translate?
Do you look because it's a divisional matchup? Are you going to look at divisional matchups too?
We certainly will when it comes to Packers Bears. But yeah, for sure. And it
that's
helps
another
that
thing
we
on
already have 2 games
props.cash, guys. You could see the divisional matchups as well throughout the last year. You could see it through the last 10 games, last 20 games, what their tendencies are against divisional matchups, which is super helpful. You could do playoffs as well, but I feel like we don't have enough of a sample size for that, especially with the Bears.
Yeah, I mean, I still think that the divisional stuff's really solid. Though I will say, like, Caleb's just doing something different in the fourth quarter. If he can translate that to more than just that quarter and put together strong drives throughout the game, like the last time the Packers played the Bears, it was 16-6, I believe, with 3 minutes left, something like that. So they did really well through the first 3 quarters and then kind of evaporated in the fourth quarter. So that one's a little bit harder to dive into, but when it comes to how I look at stuff for postseason, yeah, it's definitely looking at those home away filters and going from there.
It might be a little too early to ask. I already went through half the slate. I have to get through the second half of the slate after this show. Anything stand out to you from a props perspective? Any particular game that you would be keying on? Any matchups that you're like, wow, that's a great spot for this?
For starters, I think that I just said it already, but like I think that the running game against the Packers is probably one of the best spots on paper in the playoffs. In terms of what that looks like elsewhere, this is a really really bad spot for like Carolina in general. I'm not really gonna dive too far into that. Most people would know and say that. But yeah, I think that you're looking at that. You're also looking at tight ends against the Steelers, so that could be something to look at as well. I know it didn't come through last night for Andrews or Likely, but because Zay Flowers had the big game, that to me was weird because when we looked at historical stuff, like the Steelers were a middling group against wide receivers, they had a brief stint during the middle of the year where they were getting demolished by wide receivers, and then that slowly filtered into tight ends, but it didn't come to fruition last night. So if you're looking at that, I would say tight ends against Pittsburgh is certainly one to look out for. And then like we have so many
tight ends against the Bills and the Eagles.
Right, exactly. Yeah. And those have held pretty much the entire year. Philly and Buffalo have been like top 5 against the tight end the entire year. So I'm looking at that.
How about how much the Rams have been struggling against wide receivers this year?
Yeah. And, is that for me, like if you're going to break that down, is that more of LA's offense is just really, really good and you're forced to throw against them to catch up? Or are they actually bad? And I think it's a mixture of the two, a combination of the two. We saw, and in my flag plan, my favorite play of yesterday's card was Michael Wilson, who ended up getting that 45-yard touchdown against the Rams. So maybe that is a weakness we can exploit.
Yeah, I was looking at some Tito McMillian, like maybe just the longest reception. I don't like wide receiver props. You could tell me your thoughts. Whenever I see a defense struggles against wide receivers, for the most part, I'd rather just bank on blown coverage, one play for one or the two deep threats on the opposing side. How about you?
Yeah, I can get behind some wide receiver stuff when it all lines up perfectly. Sometimes the best way to do this, and the way I think a perfect example of this is 2 specific QBs in the postseason. Sometimes the better position to take is just backing the quarterback, whether that's longest reception or passing yards in general, pass attempts in general. You had a perfect situation there between for the Jaguars and for the Chargers, where there's a lot of mouths to feed. Sometimes it's, you expect Ladd to pop on a lot of spots, and then it's Quentin Johnston, or, Brian Thomas was the guy that turned into Jacoby Myers, and now it's Parker Washington, though he is hurt now. But you see what I'm saying? Like you can say that the wide receiver spots are really good, and then it goes to the wrong guy, though the quarterback still does extremely well. So that's something to look at there for those two teams. The guy that's coming in with the longest pass pass streak is Justin Herbert. There's only one guy that's done that in these current markets heading into the postseason. Justin Herbert's completed a 36-yard pass in 4 straight. I was on, and I think a good chunk of the industry was on that Trevor Lawrence longest pass too, because that was the big trend coming into the weekend, and his spot against Tennessee was awesome. He fell short of that, but Lawrence has completed a 28-yard pass in 7 straight games, and hopefully Parker Washington is healthy, because that, if he is not, then that hurts this prop a little bit. But yeah, I think it's a solid spot for him. Did you see? It's going to circle around probably a little bit more here, but I just saw a screen cap from someone on X about the Simpsons predicting the Jaguars Bills game.
Oh, no. What did they say?
So obviously, for those who don't know, the Simpsons over the years have been scarily good at getting things in the future right. And it was a show from last year, so it wasn't even that recent. And it was
a playoff game or just a game?
It was a playoff game, Jaguars Bills, and the Jaguars were up 25-0. So I guess we'll see how that that adds up. But yeah, I
Well,
found that
I
funny.
mean, Craig Abel said, "Do you believe the Bills should be favored over Jacksonville?"
I don't, though. I will say, like, look, you can make a case whenever Josh Allen's on your team that you have a good shot at winning. I just don't like
I
Jacksonville.
think it's a hard matchup because when you look at how well James Cook's run on the ground for the last, especially on the road, he's averaging over like 120 rushing yards a game on the road this year. Now you got to face the best run D in the NFL, the Jacksonville Jaguars. Just doesn't feel like, I mean, obviously the Jaguars' problem is against the pass. They're bottom 10 against the pass. The Bills have been good because they've been running the football real well too.
Yeah, Jaguars have been an awesome run defense this year, and if we've seen this before, we've seen the story before. If Buffalo can't run the football effectively, it is very similar to the Ravens. Like if they can't run, they can't keep up. So we'll see how it does. Like and we've seen this before where the Bills have won this kind of game. We saw it against the Patriots the second time around where they fell behind immediately and then couldn't run the football, and then Josh Allen did heroics and they won the game. So that can always happen, but I don't know. Like people are saying that no Mahomes, no Burrow, like this is the Bills' chance. I think Jacksonville's got a lot to say about that.
Yeah, Jacksonville in the playoffs, their defense always finds a way. Even when they did, I think it was that game against the Steelers, they ended up beating Pittsburgh years ago. The Duval and that whole crazy Jacksonville, the whole Jacksonville great defense that year. I was looking at like a lot of these matchups where you've got some teams with experience, some don't. Rams, you've got Matt Stafford up against Bryce Young, who first playoff go around. Even you could say Chargers with Justin Herbert up against the Patriots with Drake May. Do you care so much about these matchups with experience versus inexperienced quarterback?
Well, it certainly helps, right? I do think that, and they mentioned this on the broadcast last night, that every I forgot what the days were, but like 2 times a week, Rodgers would have the skill players over to run hand signals and do film and stuff. And you saw when they had their success last night, it was mainly due to not going under center and just going no huddle in the shotgun, and that seemed to produce a lot of stuff. And these hand signals, these the experience of running a 2-minute offense, all of that stuff is extremely important when it comes to postseason play. So yeah, I do think you got an edge on that sort of angle. If your offensive line is also playoff, it has been in the playoffs, I think that helps too. So it pains me to say it, but the guy or the team that actually sets up decently well to make another run is the Philadelphia Eagles, who have looked pretty dang good the last couple of weeks. So
Yeah,
I know that they yesterday didn't matter whatsoever, but I do think that they have one of the best defenses in football, and I think that can carry them, even if the offense is rather middling. Though, yeah, it pains me to say it, but they have a really good path to go back to the title.
We've got NBA action tonight. I know the wild card isn't until this weekend. People could start getting in early because those props are going to move. So try to handicap the props as best you can. I'm going to give you guys a cheat sheet tomorrow. This way it helps you guys. But Jared gave really good advice to how he handicaps differently NFL wildcard, NFL playoffs from the regular season. But we've got NBA regular season tonight. Jared messages me. He goes, "It's a 3-point night in the NBA." I said, "Oh, crap. I'm out. Nope, no NBA for me tonight if that's all we like tonight." I'm just kidding, though. Derek White threes, why?
Yeah, it is that kind of a night. I do think that this spot against the Bulls is rather intriguing. They've done well in limiting above the break 3 scoring recently, has Chicago, but over the last month, that number jumps from the 6th most above the break threes allowed, 7th most corner threes. They're also getting smashed in the restricted area, which is right under the basket there for those who don't know. So with that said, Derek White ranks 4th in the NBA from above the break over the last 30 days, 3.6 field goals made on average. He's taking 10 shots there a game. So I do like how that lines up. Boston is tricky whenever you're trying to target them. They have a lot of guys that can shoot threes, and you gotta have to just find the guy that's doing the best in the smaller sample that's trustworthy. And right now, that is Derek White.
The Hornets are on the road at OKC, catching 15.5, 8 p.m. Eastern, 235.5 is the total. How come Hornets 3-point shooters is what you're eyeing?
Yeah, so I'm not advocating for Charlotte to cover the spread, so don't bet on them because I'm saying this. But in the event that the game stays within 20, because I do like some OKC guys in this game, it's going to be because Charlotte is able to have success from 3-point range and hit a bunch of threes. So you do have technically it's a pace up game for Charlotte, which will help in the amount of threes that they're able to take. The Thunder, best defensive rating in the NBA. I know it's tough to target that, but if you're looking for something, they are allowing the 10th most above the break threes per game and the 4th most corner threes per game as well. You could argue, like the Rams conversation, that it's because they're getting up by so much that teams are just forced to shoot as many threes as possible to stay in the game. Sometimes that doesn't work. But in Charlotte's
Anyone in
case,
particular, like
yeah,
that you'd be looking at?
yep,
Nipple.
absolutely. So there are 3 guys that sit
Nipple's been
inside the.
great on the road.
Yeah, he has been. And he also just is running on this. Like both him and Ball are running high on their streaks right now. Ball has recorded 30 PRA in 6 of the last 7 games. Knipple has scored 17 points and has hit 3+ threes in 9 of the last 10. So when these guys get going, they're chucking. So LaMelo ranks second in the NBA from above the break in the last 30 days. Knipple ranks 9th, and Brandon Miller ranks 12th. They're all averaging right around 3 threes a game. LaMelo's up at 4 as well. So yeah, between the 3 of them, they're making, let's see, roughly 11 to 13 threes a game, and they're taking about 25. So if that goes up a little bit more today, like if they can hit 15+ threes as a group, I know that sounds a lot, but Knipple's been doing it. And he's had, his ceiling is sitting at 6 right now. So I do think if there's a world,
What's his
here.
prop? 3.5?
Yeah, 3.5. So it's priced correctly. It's priced correctly, but with that said, it's a good spot for it. And if Charlotte finds a way to keep it within 20, it's because these guys are hitting threes.
Yeah, I don't mind that. I loved I had a few Nipple props earlier on the road. It was the only place I was betting him. You see it on props.cash. His road home splits are different, but I definitely love Nipple threes. Portland, they've got a great matchup. The Utah Jazz have sucked. Their perimeter defense has sucked for the last few years. So it makes sense. Portland at home, their 3-point shooters are the ones you'd target. Who in particular?
Yeah, they have been systematically one of the worst 3-point defenses in like the last 5 years, and they're sitting there again. It's a really, really nice spot for Portland. The problem is that I'm having a hard time finding exactly guys that can actually smash in this game. You find, I'm going to pull it up on my end right now, but there's not really like a standout guy from 3-point range. If you look over the last month, you got Tamani Kamara, who's averaging around 2.5 makes. Caleb Love was sitting in that angle for a while. Then you have Dia, not really a 3-point shooter. He's more of a drive/kick guy. But if you look over the last 7 games, so around 2 to 2.5 weeks, Caleb Love finds himself in the top 10 in terms of above the break scoring. And you've seen that with a jump of minutes. The problem is that a lot of books just aren't pricing Caleb Love right now, just because, one, it might be still a little bit early in the day. Number 2, we do have Jeremy Grant out news, so that's good. But 3, I don't really know how often they're willing to put this out there, because it is kind of a sharp market. So it's a really, really good spot for Caleb Love, who appears he is closing right now with this team. He's averaged 25 minutes in the last 7 or 8 games in a row. And you've seen him kind of take this next jump a little bit. So he's a guy to keep an eye on, is Caleb Love. So I'd pay attention to him more, especially if he's going to start closing in these games, which he is.
Question from the chat. Quickly over 2.5 threes at plus money. What do you think?
Yeah, I do like the 3-point scoring spot for the Raptors. RJ being back in the mix is throwing a little things out of loop a little bit, but I do think that quickly can take advantage of that. He'd be the only 3-point scoring guy I'd look at on that side.
How about Keontae George, 4+ threes?
Portland's not like a super bad defense against above the break stuff, but I do like George here. I think that if he wasn't on such a bad team, we could be looking at, I like Keontae a lot. So I know he had He had come back down to earth a little bit from a peripheral angle, but the scoring has been just nails the last like 2 weeks. So yeah, if you want to take Keontae, I'm not going to fault you for it.
Jay Main said he has this trend. Sharp under 24.5 points has been under in 6 of the last 7.
Yeah, I think I touched on that in my list too. He's fallen under 33 PRA 8 of the last 9 as well. So he's losing his role a little bit. And that is with like, they've had consistently 5+ guys out for like 2 months now. And then Jeremy Grant's missing games too. So not great for Shaden. Maybe it's more of a market thing. Maybe they're just pricing him to a mark that they think that he can get, but it's just not getting there like 90% of the time. So yeah, he's definitely losing usage.
Last question from me. Survivor. Kelly and I have our Survivor pool. So who would you pick for Survivor in the wild card of the NFL playoffs this week?
Oh, Survivor. Okay. Wildcard's always been tough since they moved to this new format a couple of years back. I'm looking at it now.
I'm going to get everybody's Survivor pick this week. And you should join Kelly and I's contest on Splash Sports.
This is maybe a premature take, but I think I would feel, because again, you're looking for, you can't use the same team, right? So
yeah, like you can't choose someone you think might win the Super Bowl.
Right. I think this is safe for this week because I don't know how good I feel about them rest of way, but I think a really good play this week is Houston against Pittsburgh. It's the last game of the weekend, so I think Pittsburgh rose to the occasion in a division game.
Yeah, and the Ravens
obviously
defense sucks. Houston's
some questionable, like, I heard you talking about this, and I actually have a stat for you. I'm not sure if you brought it up already, but we'll get there. So many things happen, and then that one thing happens, and everybody talks about the one thing. But
yes.
Anyway, I think that Houston's defense is pound for pound the best in the remaining playoff teams. Denver being a close second, Philly third, somewhere in that range. So I know that Houston probably just was looking for, a way to get to the postseason. And I know that they gave up a bunch of points to Riley Leonard yesterday, but I think pound for pound, they are one of the best units. I think they can take away DK Metcalf, who will be back. And I don't think that there are many weaknesses for Houston. So I'll take them to be my Survivor pick this week.
I'm sending you the link. You got to join. Come join us at Splash Sports.
Yeah, send it to me.
I will send you the link. Jared Block, follow him at Jared R. Block, Trinity Analytics, Props.cash. Make sure to check out the guys at Trinity Analytics, though. They're doing all this great stuff with every number that you need to help you guys win, not only in the NBA, but also going into this weekend in the NFL. Jared, thanks so much. I'll see you next week.
I have one more thing to tell you, and I'm sorry that we have to end the show like this. I promise I'll make it up to you. Per OptaStats, have you seen this yet?
I think so. We'll go.
There have been over 60,000 field goal attempts in NFL history.
Yeah, I saw this.
Tyler Loop's miss on Sunday night is the only one of those attempts that came as time expired in the fourth quarter in the final week of the regular season, with both teams' playoff hopes resting solely on the result of the kick.
Yeah. I saw that tweet when I woke up this morning. It was very lovely.
Great thing to wake up to, I know.
Yeah, it was very lovely. Jared, now you have to join my Survivor pool. Thank you, Jared. See you next week.
Bye.
Oh, I'm going to kill him. Yes, I do have me and Kelly's. Marley, no barking, honey. No barking. I will send you guys the link right now to the Splash Sports contest. I'm going to also show you guys. This is the contest. We already have a lot of people signed up, so get in while you can because it's limited spots available. We need we're at 1,668 and we could fill up to just over 2,200. It's guaranteed 50K to the winner. Obviously, you have to survive. Yes, it is Splash Sports. So I will send in the chat. Hopefully the link works. Share contest. Can you guys copy a link from in here? I don't know if you could copy that or not, but it is on I did retweet it on my X page, and I'll post it in the YouTube below in the description when I upload this to YouTube. But it's easy because you could just go, if you could click that link, great. No, you can't. Oh, it's there. You can click it. Got to. Okay. If not, it's on my X page at Ariel Epstein, or you could go to my, it's on the X page. You could see it. I retweeted it today. But if not, I will post it into the YouTube description as well when this is all posted. It's fun. You have to pick. So obviously Survivor is, you get like the one team, but it's double picks for wild card and divisional round. So double picks for wild card and divisional round. And you could have a bunch of entries. I did 5 entries, so you could have a bunch of entries, which helps. $25 to get in, $50K for the Survivor. $50K guaranteed. So definitely make sure to join. It's going to be fun. We did it last year, and we got great feedback. So if you thought Survivor's dead, it's not. You are alive and well. Let's get a fresh start in Survivor. I have to start strategizing. I have to. Jared said he likes Houston. I'll probably have them in one of them. Yes, yours is link and goes when you click it. Perfect. So it worked. That's great. Yeah, everyone sign up on Splash Sports. So I've got the Prop Queen Edges of the Weekend. I've been working on, and you can find it at thepropqueen.com newsletter tomorrow. I will have it posted. You go to thepropqueen.com, click newsletter, and you could subscribe. I'm also going to post it on social, so you could click a link and get it. I'm going to be posting a cheat sheet for NFL Wildcard Weekend. There are already a bunch of props posted. I've already got half the games done. I'm going to walk you through half of them now. I'll finish the slate tomorrow, and tomorrow afternoon, I'm hoping to be able to have everything out there for you guys so you can get the cheat sheet early. All premium subscribers get the cheat sheet for free. It's going through every edge in every game of every prop edge. It's going through all the props that are already out, the props we haven't even seen posted yet, so that you know to look for them. Premium subscribers, you get that for free. And then if not, then you can go and pay. I'll have it up for, you could just pay for it a one-time fee if you don't want to be a premium subscriber to the newsletter. But it's going to be helpful, especially for getting ahead of the lines super early. So let's take a look at some of those early ones. For the earlier slate of games coming up on Saturday, we've got the Rams and the Panthers as the first game. The Rams laying 10.5 with a 46.5 total. Bryce Young over pass attempts stood out the most to me. Bryce Young's averaging 32 pass attempts a game this year when facing teams bottom 10 in pass attempts allowed. The Rams are actually allowing the 7th most pass attempts per game. 59% of quarterbacks went over their pass attempt prop this year when facing the Rams. And the only reason that we haven't seen as many in the last 10 games going over is because the Rams have actually really faced nobody. Jacoby Brissett, Kirk Cousins, Baker's fine, Tyler Show, and those are the ones that went under. And then the ones that went over, Sam Darnold, Jared Goff, Jacoby Brissett, Sam Darnold, Mac Jones, they all went over against the Rams defense. So even though me and Jared were saying prior that are the Rams really that bad, or is it because they're always in the lead? Well, I think it shows you that when the bad quarterbacks are going under and the good quarterbacks are going over, kind of tells me that, sure, maybe the Rams have a lead, but the good quarterbacks are still going over. Bryce Young already faced the Rams this year. He only had 20 pass attempts against them the first time around. So don't you think it's a little crazy that the second time around, he's going to be priced at a 29.5 pass attempt prop? The book's telling you the story, and Bryce Young at home is going to be throwing the football in this game against the Rams. So we're going to take the over on 29.5 pass attempts. I also said this with Jared Block in the last segment that I was looking at Titaroa McMillan over longest reception. He had a 43-yard catch in the last game against the Rams, but he's only faced 2 defenses that are bottom 10 against wide receivers. Dallas, 19 was his longest catch, and then the Rams, 43. Both those were, the Rams game was at home. But Titaroa McMillan at home this year is averaging 23 yards per longest catch, going over in 5 of 8 home games. And the Rams have allowed the 10th most receiving yards per game to wide receivers. 61% of wide receivers have gone over their longest reception prop against the Rams this season. So keep the deep threat of the Panthers, Titaroa McMillan, in mind when Bryce Young is throwing the football a lot. Packers-Bears, we talked about this a lot with Jared Block. He's a Packers fan. The line flipped. It was Bears minus 1.5 when I first, the games just ended at 4 p.m., the 4 p.m. slate just ended, and I saw the Bears-Packers game pop up. And I snapshotted the lines really quickly. Bears were minus 1.5, and then they took it down. Then everyone took the lines down. All the lines on FanDuel went down. They came back up, and the Packers were favored at -1.5. So they flipped it, but it's okay. So the Packers are favored now 1.5, total 47.5. What stood out to me was actually Caleb Williams under his longest rush of 12.5 yards. The Packers have been really good limiting quarterbacks in the ground game. The Packers have allowed the 5th least rushing yards per game to quarterbacks. My issue is, even though they have limited Caleb Williams before by allowing him to just have 4 rushes for 15 yards in the game in Lambeau, Caleb Williams ran for 3 rushes, 30 yards at Soldier Field against Green Bay. So then I was like, okay, let me dig deeper. Well, it turns out that against teams that are top 10 in rushing yards allowed to quarterbacks, aka limiting quarterbacks in the ground game, Williams is averaging just under 4 rush attempts, 23 rushing yards, 10 yards per longest rush. And then based on the numbers, he only had 6 and 12 yards of a longest rush against Green Bay this year. So that's still under 12.5. So maybe Green Bay is going to allow Caleb Williams to run a few times and he picks up yardage, but he won't run for much in one gain. So when you look at on props.cash, 67% of quarterbacks have gone under their longest rush prop. 71% also went under their rushing yard prop. If Caleb Williams was at Lambeau, I would have taken the under rushing yards, but because he's home and he runs more at home, I'm going to take the under on the longest rush, that the Packers are just able to contain Caleb Williams so he doesn't have a big gain. He just might have a few that add up. Trevor Lawrence, this game, the Jaguars and the Bills. Bills favored at -1.5 in Jacksonville. Total 50.5. High total, especially for a good run D. So there's going to be a lot of passing the football. But Trevor Lawrence, the yardage might not be there. He's getting a really good pass D for the Bills. Lawrence under his passing yards. He's faced 4. Well, he's had 4 games this year against top 10 pass Ds. Chargers, Houston twice, Kansas City. In those games, averaging 188.5 passing yards a game. He didn't go over 236.5 in any of those games, actually. He has been hitting the overs at home this year, Trevor Lawrence, especially recently. But then look at who he faced. Indy, the Jets, and the Titans. Those were his last 3 home games. Buffalo's allowed the least passing yards per game. 82%. 82% of quarterbacks have gone under their passing yard prop this year when facing the Bills. So you could look to the Trevor Lawrence under. Bretton Strange, I love him. I'm so sad that this is a bad matchup for him. I mentioned it with Jared Block about fading tight ends against the Bills and the Eagles. You cannot take overs against the Bills and the Eagles when it comes to the tight end position. Those are the 2 best defenses for the last couple of years against tight ends. And unfortunately for Bretton Strange, he has to face the Bills. He faced one team top 10 against tight ends this year, and that was Houston. He actually did have a good game, 6 catches, 61 yards, but he's Strange is averaging 7 yards less per game at home this year. He's had 39, 54, and 52 receiving yards the last 3 weeks. So at 35.5, this number is low. It should be a 42.5 prop, around that range, and it's 35.5. It's low. Bills have allowed the least receiving yards per game to tight ends this year. 67% of tight ends have gone under their receiving yard prop. Sorry, Trey Young news. Sorry, I'll finish this and then I'll go into Trey Young. Last one, Josh Allen over 30.5 pass attempts in this game. We all know if you guys watch football and you guys watch Josh Allen. Sorry, I scrolled up. That's why. If you watch Josh Allen in the playoffs, you know he loves to throw the football in the playoffs. And Josh Allen over pass attempts in a game with a 1.5 point spread should be throwing the football, especially on the road. He's averaging 33 pass attempts a game, went up against teams bottom 10 in pass attempts allowed. I would say the only thing I'd be cautious about is that on the road he's not throwing as much, but Jacksonville's allowing the most pass attempts per game this year at 37. 59% of quarterbacks went over their pass attempt prop this year against the Jags, 60% in the last 10. I'm just expecting Josh Allen to throw. When you're up against the Jaguars run D, that's the best run D in football, you're going to have to throw the football because they know they have to contain James Cook. The Jaguars know they're going to have to contain the Bills running back who's averaging over 120 rushing yards a game on the road this year. If they could do that and make the Bills one-dimensional, it's not that Josh Allen can't throw the football. Can his receivers come up with big plays? And I think he's actually going to be focusing on his tight ends because that's really where the Jaguars have struggled, is kind of middle of the field against tight ends. They're bottom 10 against tight ends this year, 11th most after this week. They were 10th most receiving yards allowed to tight ends going into week 18. After week 18, Jags ranked 11th in facing tight ends, or 11th worst, in facing tight ends. You've got a lot of 11 personnel, maybe Kincaid and Knox. So definitely look out for those two tight ends in Kincaid and Knox. But I think they're going to make Josh Allen throw the football, especially against a good run D. Lastly, we've got some news in the NBA. It actually, I meant to bring it up in the top of the show, but because the Ravens pissed me off so much, it just trickled into today. And if you missed my Ravens rant and you are interested in seeing me pissed and talk about the future of the Ravens, you go over to the YouTube page. In about an hour or so, I will have it posted to the YouTube page where you can check out at the Prop Queen Media channel on YouTube. Subscribe. It means a lot. And you can see everything from the show. I clip up the whole show. My rant on the Ravens, segments with Jared Block in NFL and NBA will be segmented in case you just want NBA picks, in case you want to know how to handicap the NFL wildcard slate. My best bets, the Prop Queen Edges, always posted separately, so you don't have to go through the entire show on the YouTube channel. You could just go to the segment that you might have missed at Prop Queen Media. Trae Young is trying to get traded. The Atlanta Hawks star has been out. He's always injured, but I just think he doesn't want to play. Shams reporting that Trae Young and his agents are working with the Hawks on a trade. They were saying that the Wizards were a front runner. I'm not really so sure as to why Trae Young would want to go to the Washington Wizards. Leaving the Hawks for the Wizards, it just doesn't seem right. Go to a winning team. They said they don't expect any coaching changes, but the Hawks and Young's agents have maintained positive dialogue on his future ever since the franchise elected not to offer a contract extension last summer. And other news, Zach Taylor, Cincinnati Bengals head coach, said Monday he doesn't anticipate any changes to his coaching staff in 2026, which means defensive, what was the rest of that tweet? Which means defensive coordinator Al Golden will be returning. I'm sure Bengals fans will be super excited about that. Yeah, so a lot of news. It's Red Monday. We will see what's going on with all these different teams in the NFL, who's going to get fired, who's not, what's going to happen with the Ravens, and what's going to happen now with Trae Young, who wants to get traded. I just hope Trae Young doesn't go to a bad team. I don't want him to go to the Wizards. That's so boring. Wizards defense sucks, and Trae Young's not helping with that. Go somewhere that has a good defense so that you could be the point guard you are, Trae Young, and not worry about defense because you can't play it. The guy is short and frail and he plays no defense. That's my point. So go somewhere that you just have to worry about dishing the ball out and shooting. Don't go to the Wizards. You're not going to help that team be any better. The Wizards are like the bad version of the Sacramento Kings, except the Kings could put points up a few years ago. They just couldn't play defense. If the Wizards had Trae Young, maybe they could put points up, but they still have no defense, so they're never going to win. So weird. Anyway, again, make sure to sign up for me and Kelly's contest. Just a few spots left, so make sure to get in while you can. $50K guaranteed. Splash Sports, Kelly and Ariel's $50K NFL playoff survivor. Super pumped about that. Good luck to everyone's bets today. Jared gave some good NBA props, a lot of 3 points props on the board tonight for him. We'll try to get back into the NBA sometime this week, but I really wanted to get the NFL cheat sheet out for Wild Card Weekend. I want to beat some of these prop numbers before the public gets in and starts betting them. So once I'm done capping some of the NFL props for this weekend, I will get back into NBA action. But I will always have guests on the show. Tomorrow, I'm sure we'll get some hockey in here. We'll do some more NBA, and I'll make sure to have some guests on that can help us out with winning bets if I don't have any. Good luck. See you guys tomorrow.